Hi guys, it's Carissa here from Before You Renovate. I hope you guys are all amazing and enjoying our podcast series. I'm definitely very excited about bringing all this data to you and helping you really equip yourself with the right tools that's going to help you save thousands, make thousands, and reduce their headache of renovating. So we are going to kick off a bit more to what we talked about last week. Last week we did talk about how to set your goals for this year. This week I want to map out some of the due diligence you should do specifically as a rental property. So I want you just to take a little bit to think about what your portfolio is right now in terms of how many properties do you have? Are you planning on still buying something else? Where are you at? Then I want you to get a spreadsheet. So get your pen and paper and please write this down. But I want you, especially if you're one of those landlords that's got a bit complacent, relies on the property manager just to tell you what you need and kind of too busy doing stuff. And I'm guilty of that myself. One of my properties, I didn't even realize the rent was actually not fully getting paid properly because I was so busy I didn't look at it. So make sure, one, you're overseeing everything. But two, what I want you guys to focus on at the moment is knowing the information you should know, always ready at hand. I've had many clients where I've said, oh, what's the rent you get now? They're like, let me go find it. And they've got to go searching through paperwork and emails and always know what's happening. So I want you to note this down. These are the things that I think are really important to start with, to start understanding where your property is at right now. Whether you're living there or renting it, renting it, this strategy is even more beneficial. But even if you're living there, but you're wanting to see whether you've got potential to get more equity or to now start renting it or whatever the case, that's what we're gonna work on. So I want you to note down firstly, property one, the address. I then want you to write what the rent is right now. So if you've got this information somewhere, go find it. If you need to call your PM, I want you to know what your rent is right now per week, okay? Then I want you to write what it is per year. So per annum, what's your whole rent? So you've got property one, address, rent per week, rent per annum. Then I want you to write how long the tenant has been in that lease, has been that property. So did you just have them move in a year ago? Has it been 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? Now I'll tell you why this is so crucial, because when you get carried away and you may forget to continuously check in on what's happening with your property, you might have a tenant in there for 10 years. That highly suggests that that property may be due to getting some facelift things done that's going to add significant rental, add significant asset value. So we want to know and understand how long that tenant has been in there, because that will just tell us whether there is more or not potential. So how long has that tenant been in there? And are they on a lease or is it periodic? Has the lease ended and it hasn't been renewed? Or are they on a lease and when is the renewal date? Really, really key things. If I had multiple properties, if I was a landlord with multiple properties, this is what I do. I would have a spreadsheet with this tabbed out and you literally fill out everything on all your properties and you have the date, and every 3 months you check in, and then you can set reminders when you know things are coming up. So if your property manager forgets to check it in with you, or if you realize, look, there is actually some potential before the property manager says, oh, hey, we're due for a renewal next week, and you're like, oh, I want to do work, that's already too late because you're already going to have a downtime with no tenant. So know all these stats way, way in advance. So if you're tracking it, you then know when things are coming up. So property address, rent now, rent per annum now, per week now, rent per annum now. Have you done, how long's the tenant been there? And are they on a lease or not? When's it due? And set those reminders in your phone. Then I want you to look at, have you had to do any maintenance in the last 12 months? So have you had to fix leaks in the roof? Have you had to change hot water systems? Have you had to update tapware that washers were no good, or tapware that were broken? Or have you had to replace doors that were falling off? Have you had to fix the bench top? What maintenance have you had to do? I want you to then list those under in the last 12 months. And you may have had nothing, and you may have had to spend $5,000. So we want to know, what maintenance have you had? Then I want you to go find your last inspection report and look at the photos. And if you remember your property, great, but I work with landlords that have 10, 20 properties, and they're like, I can't remember what this one even looks like. They buy it, set and forget. So go look at your photos, and you tell yourself honestly, is it looking the best it possibly can? Is it looking tired? Is it looking run down? Forget it being a rental for a moment, but just think about the aesthetics. Is the kitchen looking a bit, how you going? Is there water damage? Is the bathroom got really ugly tiles? It doesn't mean you have to go and renovate the whole thing. I'm not suggesting that, but be open-minded, and we're taking a snapshot of your property right now. That's what we're trying to do. We're taking a snapshot of your property right now, your finance of your property around the money you're getting in right now and your expenditure, so we can determine whether, yep, leave it, it's great, or, yeah, no, I think there might be some more return you're missing out on. Who wants to know that they're missing out on money? Everyone. No one wants to own a property and just let it do its thing and then realize 5 years later you missed out on about $50,000 worth of rent because it could have been updated 5 years ago to get more rent, but you never knew or no one told you. So let's not rely. Let's do one thing in this podcast. Let's take responsibility that we're the landlord, we own the property. So it's our responsibility to check in on this stuff. We might have our accountant, we might have our property manager, great, but they are not there to tell you, or they may not even understand to tell you, hey, did you know you can get more equity on it? Did you know that you could do an extra bathroom? Property managers, some do, but they're there to make sure a tenant stays in, they make sure the tenant pays the rent, make sure if there's any maintenance, you're notified. They don't always go to you, oh, hey, you could actually get $100 more a week if you did X, Y, Z. So be proactive. Don't be a landlord that waits to be told. Go after your wealth. Go after making the most amount of money you can that's going to affect your wealth, your future, your retirement, your kids, their kids. Every year makes a compound difference on the money you're making, the asset value to your property, the equity, the opportunity to be able to further build your portfolio that you could have possibly done 5 years ago, but you didn't know about it. So I'm here to guide you guys through this right now. So pull your pen and paper out and follow on with me with this. So have you looked at your inspection report, and can you honestly say, yep, everything looks great? Or, you know what, bathroom's pink. It would make a whole lot more, like, look a lot nicer if it was modernized. So we're not talking about how much to spend yet. We're not talking about what type of work. We're just saying, looking at the property, what areas could be improved to make it look more modern. That's it. And have you had feedback? So next thing after that, have you had feedback from your property manager about any issues? So they complain that there's not enough storage. They complain that it's missing a carport. They complain that there's not enough heating or cooling. What complaints are you getting? Or I get a lot where there's tenants complaining that the power keeps tripping. I've had that number of times. Then I've had the owners telling me, like, before we're about to do a facelift, but for the last 2 years, we've had the property manager tell me the power keeps tripping. So we've just told the tenant just to not put all the power points on. Okay, maybe everything needs to be updated and checked and make sure everything's compliant. So again, even understanding, is there any compliant issues at your property? Do your due diligence. Don't rely that people are doing it for you. Do it yourself. So ask the right questions to your PM. Then you get a good idea of, here's my rent. This is the property. So you know which one, especially if you've got multiple. Here's my rent right now. Okay. Here's what I've spent lately, and here's when it's due, so I know when I need to make sure I set my timeline. So if I do facelift, I know when I'm doing it. Here's what I spent last year on what areas. here's what I think about the area of the property, the rooms, and here's any feedback that the PM's passed on to me about issues with the tenant. All right, now we can start determining, okay, is there some things that could be improved? Yes, so we've got a yes by this point. Yes, the bathroom. Yes, there's some storage issues. Yes, they complained about no aircon. Okay, now we go back to our property manager. Mr. Property Manager. If I eliminate those problems and I eliminate the fact that it's looking a bit run down and we make it look modern, how much more rent could I possibly attract? Now, if you know your PM, this is in my suggestion. If you know your PM quite well and you just know that they are gun PM and there is many of them out there, they're very proactive and they're great. They may have already flagged this with you already. They're going to give you the right information. If you have a PM that you don't know very well or you haven't been extremely happy with and maybe doesn't communicate with you very well, they may tend to think, no, you're getting the best you can, because it's a bit easier for them to leave the tenant in there than to try to suggest you change tenant. So be careful with the feedback you get. And if you're not 100% confident in what they're saying, go get a second opinion. Get a second opinion. So you know that you're definitely getting the right information. I've had clients come to me and tell me that their property manager says they shouldn't do anything, but they know, because they're savvy investors, that there's potential there. So they bring me and said, we need your help. And I said, what does the PM say? The PM said, we can't get any more rent. I'm like, what? Then they have a second opinion, and the second opinion says you can get $300 more a week. Guys, you'll be amazed how many times I hear this. I am amazed. So you've gone to your PM, you've done all your diligence, they've come back and said, you probably get $200 more a week. Okay, what are we talking? Another 10 grand basically a year. Now that is a big amount that will significantly, depending on the work that needs to be done, but that could significantly cover the amount you need to invest without you being out of pocket and you still make more money. So this is why this strategy is so crucial. So yeah, they've said you can get this much more a week. Great. Then you need to understand what investment you need to put. So what do you need to do? What's your strategy? What do you need to invest? What areas need to be improved? How much do you need to invest? And then what return will that get you? So if you're talking that you can get an extra 10 grand, then we're going back a step. We're going, okay, we need to do the kitchen. We need to do the bathroom. We need to do flooring, we need to do painting. We need to upgrade electrical, for example. Most common things, you have to kind of do all of them. So, okay, well, we know that the kitchen there's no water damage, so we could facelift that. So we're keeping the carcass. We're not going brand new, but we're changing the colors. We're putting a stone bench top in, and we're redoing the splashback. So we're spending X amount there. Some of the things maybe you can do DIY yourself. You've got some contacts, or you've got to get trades in to do all of it. Then we need to do the bathroom. It's pink, but we've had it tested. It's not leaking. So we now can facelift that. So you start working out, okay, we can do this. We can run this strategy. Okay, so you're talking at that point, you need to go see your property. So you need to speak to your property manager to get access to go see it. Or you need help, you ask us to come help you with that. But you need to go see it. At that point, you need to then be able to go, what's the kitchen like, and inspect it? What's the bathroom like, and inspect it? What's the flooring like, and inspect it? What are you looking for? What can you make sure is working? Then you can look at what needs to be repaired, restored, replaced. Some things you just need to repair them, restore them. Some things you need to completely replace. So it's understanding which one to do, and then understanding how to put your budget together. So now, how much are we investing in order to take it from this property to this property? Okay, we've done our figures. We need to invest 30 grand. All right, 30 grand's got to go to that, but we can make an extra 10 grand a year. Okay, really important that you know these figures and you estimate, because then you know a budget, then you know how much more potential rent you can get. Allow your buffer, because you may not hit that amount, so allow that it might be less. And allow that you're also going to have the property vacant for a couple of weeks. So you're going to get a loss of rent, add that to your price. You're going to have your mortgage to pay without having any rent coming in. So you want to make sure that, okay, well, here's the amount I've estimated I need to invest. Here's the items I need to cover off. And aside from that, here is the cost I'm going to be losing in that period while I'm getting it done. Okay, now we've just tallied it and we're up to 35 grand. Right, so 35 to get an extra 10 grand, right? If you then go, and a lot of my clients do this, and I'm not a financial advisor in any way, but a lot of my clients do this, they chat to their bank and they top it up on their loan. A lot of my clients, they don't want to use their savings because then you're using money that you could use into something personal. So they top it up on their loan. They've got a loan of $500,000 on $1 million property. They've got enough equity. They top it up so that 35 grand comes off their loan and they're paying repayments on it. Those repayments are covered off with the extra 10 grand profit that they're going to make. So those repayments, depending on their interest rate at the time, interest rates have changed, depending on the interest rate at the time, that repayment of that 35 grand every month comes out of the extra money they're now going to be making. So as long as the extra income, the extra income, because not profit yet, the extra income is significantly more higher than the repayment on the amount you need to top up, on the amount you need to invest, then you'll be cash flow positive. So if you're investing 35 and you're making an extra 10 grand, and let's say, for example, I don't have let's just say, let me do a quick calculation, although I haven't checked what the interest rates are right at this minute, but let's say what, you're at like 1,400, 1,500. A year, and you just make 10 grand more. That's a real no-brainer. Wow, that was a really good example. Especially when you're doing a DIY and you're not getting a builder, you're not paying a consultant, you're not doing any of that, and you're trying to manage this yourself. You'll obviously save money, but you need to invest your time into it. So you may only invest 35 grand, get an extra $200 a week. That's 10 grand. That's more than covering your investment for your top up. You walk away cash flow positive. So every year there's more money back in your pocket. So you're ahead. Plus, the other part I want you to think about is the asset growth. So it's now worth $1 million, but when you put 35 grand in and the main areas look smick now, your bank evaluation comes back in and now you're at 1.1. But you've only put 35 grand in. So now we've got an extra 10 grand income minus the amount you just invested. So let's just run fingers. Let's say the investment amount is $2 grand a year for you to pay it back. You're then talking about $8 grand in your pocket profit. So you're cash flow positive. Plus you've just put 35 grand in. So now you've increased your asset value to that extra 100 grand. So you've now got 65K in equity. And then you start looking at how can we go potentially buy something else if you've got the serviceability there. So this is why we want to do a health check of your property. So you can determine whether you've got potential. If you have those figures but no one's told you, that extra 65K could be what you needed to be able to get that extra equity you already had to go buy another property that's going to pay itself off. And all of a sudden, in a year, you've just bought yourself another 2 properties. So really crucial you do your due diligence, get the time, take the time, allocate the time, structure the time, especially in this January month, to get your right figures, talk to your PM, put everything in your spreadsheet, and be able to walk out of that couple hours doing that and going, no, there's no value in my property. Yes, there's value in my property. Okay, next step. What are we doing? How are we doing this? The next step will be when you guys get to jump on our workshops and learn how to do your kitchen strategically, how to manage your bathroom strategically, and what those components should be, so you can minimize what you spend but maximize your extra income, your extra asset value, so you're getting more per dollar investment for what you've put in. All right, guys, I'm going to leave you guys with that. Please, please, please do this before our next podcast. I want to know that you 100% are understanding where your property's at and what potential it's got. If you want to, please like, share, follow what we're doing, share it with your friends, especially if you've got other friends that are landlords that have properties or want to get into this market. Knowledge is key. Knowledge is key. So I'm sharing my knowledge so you guys are equipped with the right tools to smash out getting more out of your property this year. Let's make sure that you walk away at the end of this year with the most out of your property. All right. Next week, I'm going to talk about how to plan in advance. So once you know that you've got potential, next step is to planning it so you minimize your downtime and you maximize what you're doing when it comes time to executing that project, designing and executing the actual trades. Guys, enjoy your week. I can't wait to already bring you another podcast next week. Make sure you execute. Execution is important. Otherwise, you don't move anything. So listen, integrate, execute, and let me know what's happening in the comments below. Mwah. Love and peace to all of you. Happy renovating.